Every 4 years, the whole planet stops for a month. The World Cup isn't just a tournament, it's a stage where reputations are made in a single touch and destroyed in a single second. Trophies get lifted, hearts get broken, and every edition leaves behind a handful of images we never stop replaying. So before the new champions write their own chapter, let's rewind through the moments that turned the World Cup into pure mythology. The goals, the meltdowns, the villains, the hair, and the sheer human chaos of football's biggest show. Mexico 1986. The two faces of Maradona. Start in the heat of Mexico 1986, and one man towering over the whole tournament, Diego Maradona. Against England in the quarterfinal, he scored the two most famous goals in football history 4 minutes apart. First, the Hand of God, a blatant, shameless punch past the keeper that the referee somehow waved through. Then, almost immediately, redemption of the most absurd kind. A slaloming solo run through half the England team that the world would forever call the goal of the century. Cheat and genius in the space of one afternoon. That was Maradona in a nutshell. Brilliant, reckless, impossible to look away from, and it carried Argentina all the way to the trophy. Italy 1990, Lineker's worst day. The Golden Boot that year didn't go to Maradona though. It went to England's Gary Lineker, who arrived at Italia 90 as his country's great hope, and left with one of the most cringe-inducing stories the sport has ever produced. Feeling a stomach illness before a match, but too afraid of being benched to say anything, Lineker played on. He even scored, but his body eventually betrayed him mid-game, in front of the entire world, and he was left desperately dragging himself along the grass to hide the evidence. Dark shorts and grainy 1990 broadcast quality spared him instant humiliation, but the story leaked out anyway, and it's now a permanent entry in the World Cup's Hall of Fame for the absurd. The superfan with a plastic trophy, Italy 1990, also gave the game one of its most tender stories. That was the tournament where a Brazilian named Clovis Fernandes showed up for his first World Cup, clutching a small replica of the trophy he would never again be seen without. To fund the trip, he quietly sold his pizzeria, without even telling his wife. He became the unofficial heart of the Brazilian support, following the Seleção to every single World Cup for decades. He saw the glory of 1994 and 2002, and then the nightmare. The 7-1 demolition by Germany on home soil in 2014. The photo of Clovis in tears, hugging that little plastic cup as the dream collapsed, went around the world. He passed away the following year after a long fight with cancer, but his sons have carried his trophy to tournaments since, and it just might appear again. Brazil 2014, two instant masterpieces. That same 2014 tournament handed us 2 goals for the ages before the tears ever came. In the very first group stage round, the Netherlands took apart the reigning world and European champions, Spain, and the defining image was Robin van Persie launching himself parallel to the turf and heading in a diving, looping finish over Casillas. The Flying Dutchman was born in a single frame. Then came the most beautiful goal of the whole tournament, James Rodriguez chest controlling the ball and swinging his boot through a dipping, thunderous volley against Uruguay. It won him the Golden Boot and booked his move to Real Madrid. Watch it and you can't help but line it up next to the other perfect chest and volley strikes. Joe Cole against Sweden, Maxi Rodriguez against Mexico, different years, same impossible technique. When goals became choreography. That Colombia side didn't just play gorgeous football, they danced. After Pablo Armero's opener against Greece, the whole team broke into a synchronized routine by the corner flag that the internet fell in love with instantly, and they kept doing it all tournament long. 4 years earlier, South Africa had set the template. The hosts equalizing against Mexico and celebrating with a group dance so tight it looked rehearsed for months. All of it soundtracked by the endless drone of the vuvuzela, the buzzing plastic horn that became 2010's global symbol and its most divisive one. But the real godfather of the goal celebration was Roger Milla, Cameroon's 38-year-old forward at Italia 90, sprinting to the corner flag to shimmy his hips after every goal. He turned Cameroon into the story of the tournament and made the dance part of football forever. The World Cup as a fashion runway. Some players leave their mark without touching the ball much at all. In 1998, everyone was talking about Nigeria's Taribo West and his green and white dreadlocks in the colors of his flag. Romania went a step further. They promised that if they escaped a group with England and Colombia, the entire squad would dye their hair blonde, and they kept their word, running out against Tunisia bleached from front to back, George Hadji included. The only holdout was keeper Bogdan Stelia, who simply had nothing left up top to dye. Decades later, Weston McKennie tried his own version in Qatar, coloring his hair into the stars and stripes and instantly becoming a meme. And no fashion list survives without David Beckham, who turned a mohawk at the 2002 World Cup into a global haircut, or Ronaldo, whose story we'll get to. Messi in Qatar, que miras? The biggest meme of Qatar 2022, though, came from a microphone, not a boot. Fresh off a bad-tempered quarterfinal against the Netherlands, Lionel Messi turned mid-interview and snapped his now legendary line, roughly, "What are you looking at?" dripping with a level of irritation no translation really captures. In that instant, he wasn't the untouchable icon. He was a furious human being clawing toward the only thing missing from his career. Days later, he had it. Argentina were champions, and the raging Messi from the tunnel found his mirror image in the tournament's other iconic photo, Leo fast asleep, cradling the trophy like a newborn. Football's ugliest nights. That quarterfinal against the Netherlands was less a match than a brawl. 18 cards and a red across both teams, so vicious it earned its own name, the Battle of Lusail. And yet even that pales next to the roughest match the World Cup has ever seen, the 2006 Battle of Nuremberg between Portugal and the Netherlands, where Russian referee Valentin Ivanov brandished 16 yellows and 4 reds and looked ready to send off half the pitch. Refereeing chaos ran through that whole 2006 tournament, including the surreal moment Graham Poll booked Croatia's Josip Šimunić 3 times before finally remembering to send him off. South Korea seemed to ride a wave of baffling decisions all the way to the semis, from Totti's dismissal against Italy to a good goal wiped out against Spain. But the era that actually changed football came in 2010. Frank Lampard's shot for England crashing down a full yard behind the German line, ungiven, the whole world watching. That single miss pushed the game toward goal line technology, which debuted in Brazil in 2014, and now it's impossible to imagine the sport without it. 2010, beauty and a psychic octopus. But 2010 gave us breathtaking football too. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's 30-yard rocket into the top corner against Uruguay, a perfect showcase for the wildly unpredictable Jabulani ball that keepers everywhere despised. And it gave us the tournament's strangest celebrity, Paul the Octopus, who kept correctly predicting results by picking a flag-marked box before each match. By the final, people were only half joking about being scared of him. He chose Spain, and Spain won it, sealed by Iker Casillas' legendary point-blank save on Robin. Suarez, hero or villain? Uruguay had its own unforgettable save that year, though it came from an outfield player. In the dying set the line with his bare hand. Red card, penalty to Ghana, and the cruelest twist imaginable when Asamoah Gyan smashed it against the bar, sending Suarez from despair to delirium. To some, he was a hero who sacrificed himself for his team. To others, the man who stole Africa's first ever World Cup semi-final. 4 years later, he was back in the spotlight for the worst reasons, sinking his teeth into Giorgio Chiellini mid-match against Italy. Genius, hero, provocateur, lunatic. The argument over Luis Suarez has never really stopped. Zidane's exit into legend. With Marco Materazzi, the verdict is easier. His trash talk in the 2006 final rewrote Zinedine Zidane's entire legacy in one motion. Zidane turning and burying his head into Materazzi's chest, the red card, the disbelief, and then the haunting shot of Zizou walking silently past the trophy on his way down the tunnel. That isn't a football clip anymore, it's folklore. Rijkaard's spit. Long before Zidane, the tournament's grimmest moment belonged to Frank Rijkaard. Italy, 1990, Netherlands versus West Germany. Rijkaard fouled Rudi Fuller, then spat into his hair while the referee's back was turned. When both men were finally sent off after clashing again, Rijkaard spat on him a second time on the way out. He apologized for years, and the two even filmed a lighthearted ad together decades later, but the image never washed off. Red cards and grudges. Some dismissals shaped careers. Wayne Rooney's red against Portugal in 2006 came with the infamous shot of Cristiano Ronaldo winking to his bench, a moment that nearly poisoned their Manchester United partnership and made Ronaldo public enemy #1 in England for years. 8 years earlier, David Beckham had flicked out a boot at Diego Simeone against Argentina, got sent off, and was vilified back home when England went out on penalties yet again. But Beckham outlasted the hatred, coming back at the next World Cup to bury the winning penalty against the very same Argentina, the haircut that broke the internet before there was an internet. Which brings us back to Ronaldo, o fenomeno. Nursing an injury before the 2002 semifinal, and sick of the endless speculation about his fitness, he decided to hijack the entire news cycle by shaving his head down to a single absurd tuft at the front. The R9 cut was born. Millions of kids copied it overnight, and Ronaldo later apologized to their mothers for the crime. But by then, it didn't matter. His brace in the final against Germany welded that ridiculous haircut permanently into World Cup history. Close. Great goals, impossible saves, tears, memes, scandals, superstitions, and haircuts. This is only a fraction of what the World Cup has given us. And there's no doubt at all that very soon this list will grow again, with moments we can't yet imagine but will never forget.